Many moons ago, a strange gem fell from the moon, and its potent magic caused the surrounding undergrowth to form a mysterious being, Wormwood. Wormwood's addition to Don't Starve Together has long been discussed. Ever since his arrival in the Hamlet DLC, players have been eager to witness his appearance in Together, as his skills and abilities would fit into Don't Starve Together's environment nicely. But now, those who have waited eagerly have been rewarded, for Wormwood finally grows his way into the Don't Starve Together world to find some new friends, perchance. This video was made with the assistance of some friendly folk from the neighbourhood Freddo Films Discord server. If you wish to partake in conversation, have fun, and even appear in videos like these if you wish, be sure to join up. In the future, I will be creating more videos with Discord members, especially when new Don't Starve Together content is dropped. To get your hands on our delightful plant man, Wormwood can be purchased from the store by himself, in a bundle with all 3 of his new skins, or woven for 2,700 spools. Alternatively, if you already own Hamlet, you'll be granted Wormwood for free, an incredibly generous act from Clay's part. Wormwood's 3 skins are the Hollow, Oasis Bound, and the Roseate. All 3 of them look amazing, even with unique art for when Wormwood blooms in spring. Sadly, none of these skins have custom flower trails while blooming, which is something that would be really awesome to see. It certainly looks off being a mushroom but still having regular flowers appear behind you. Now, as some of you may know, I myself am quite a big fan of Wormwood's perks and abilities. I actually have a little gameplay series going on, might wanna check that out. For the most part, Wormwood's abilities are the same as they are in the Hamlet DLC. Assuming a fair portion of people watching this video already know what Wormwood's abilities are, I am going to go over the changed ones first. If you want to see a revision of all of Worm's perks, skip to this time in the video. Wormwood's first change is that Compost Wrap can now act as a highly potent fertilizer and fuel item, as well as healing 30 health to Wormwood only. This is definitely a nice change to the Compost Wrap. It doesn't immediately bump it up to meta status or anything, but it's nice to see additional uses for each item. This ability is only useful on farm plots, however, since individually fertilizing a plant such as berry bushes with this item would be a waste of materials, as the ingredients could be used to fertilize 7 plants instead of 1. Instead of catching on fire like he does in Hamlet, Wormwood now only burns for slightly longer and takes more damage from the effect. The intent behind this change is clearly to prevent the burning of bases from clumsy Wormwoods, which is definitely a positive idea due to Don't Starve Together's multiplayer focus. However, catching on fire was a pretty unique downside to Wormwood, and definitely meant that the player had to take extra care when approaching certain mobs or even seasons. Now it's barely even a downside, as fire damage is negligible anyway. Instead of Wormwood not catching fire at all, he could simply not spread fire to surrounding objects. This would mean that extra care would still have to be taken during seasons such as spring, and would retain the charm that the original perk had. Any plants that Wormwood attempts to grow without a farm plot will actually rot and dissipate after the time it would normally take for the picked crop to spoil. This downside, while not a huge impact on Wormwood's playstyle or level of power, is rather disappointing. Players were planning to make lovely floral decorations using Wormwood's plants, as they do have a certain visual appeal. Such plans are no longer possible, however. This change was likely made as Clay wants to prevent Endless Worlds from having junk items lying around, but the thing is, plants aren't junk. Unlike items such as rot or stingers, which have limited amounts of uses, you can simply pick the plant and eat it. Any plants that are destroyed by other players will cause Wormwood's sanity to drain over time, instead of an immediate loss. In total, only about 2 sanity is actually lost, meaning that this downside is now near meaningless. This feature does stop Maxwells and Woodies from damaging Wormwood's sanity too much, but the effect that it does apply is so meager that it's barely even a downside anymore. These were the only major changes made to Wormwood in Together. It's clear that these perks were made with the intent of making the character greater suited to Don't Starve Together's focus on teamwork, but in a couple of cases his changes actually managed to take away from Wormwood as a character.
How do you stay alive? Photosynthesis, bro.
And now for all of Wormwood's perks. Wormwood can plant any seeds he finds directly into the ground without the need for any kind of farm plot. The plant will grow as normal and will sprout into a random crop unless it is a specific crop seed. This is an excellent way to gain free food from seeds. Playing Wormwood will quickly get you into the mindset of picking up any seed you see lying around, and then planting them. You could even get your buddies to grab any seeds they see and give them to you for planting. Collected seeds can either be planted near a base in order to create a backup of food, or simply planted where they can be found to act as a food for any travelers passing by. Additionally, any seeds planted in the ground actually have a map icon, unlike in Hamlet, which means that they are a very cheap way of marking structures such as marble heads or other valuables with no map icon. During the season of spring, Wormwood blossoms, which increases his movement speed, hunger drain, and causes bees to unsuccessfully attempt to pollinate his flower. While the increased hunger drain is definitely a deterrence, you should already have a stable food source set up by spring, so the hunger drain is less likely to put you out of action. During this season, try to avoid sitting at base as best you can. Speed is the most valuable stat in Don't Starve, as it speeds up certain tasks and the time it takes to travel between them, resulting in the entire game being a lot faster. So capitalize on Wormwood's boost, and do such things as map out the world or caves if you have not yet done so. Use your speed to land in extra hits while kiting enemies, and generally get a lot more done than other characters. Wormwood's blooming is instantaneous and don't start together, unlike Hamlet where it slowly fades in and out of effect as the season passes. In trade-off for this, Wormwood's blooming effects are not as extreme as in Hamlet. Eye plants are now friendly towards Wormwood. This upside's pretty minor, but it does mean you don't have to build certain turfs to stop them from spawning, and can instead use them as a halfway decent hound defense. Wormwood has access to the Green Thumb crafting tab, which allows him to craft many plant-based items. The first and most notable of these is the ability to craft living logs for 20 health. This ability is endlessly talked about, as it can provide a very reliable way to obtain living logs, without having to idle around waiting for a Treeguard to spawn. And of course, this ability works especially well with Warthocks, a synergy that no one can seem to stop talking about. Since Warthocks' souls are highly common, and heal for the exact amount required to make living logs, these two characters paired together are a very reliable source. With a Wormwood on your team, Dark Swords are a much more reliable weapon, and can even be used for taking out trash or grunt mobs, without fear of wasting any valuable resources. Wormwood's second recipe is the Bramble Husk, a body piece armor crafted with 2 living logs and 4 bone shards. While the Bramble Husk only provides a miserly 65% protection, it shoots out lightly damaging thorns in an AoE when struck. However, the husk's true value lies elsewhere. While wearing the husk, picking plants such as cactus or spiky bushes does not damage Wormwood or consume durability from the armor. If any bramble traps are to go off near Wormwood, he will not take damage from the AoE effect that they spawn. This is a ridiculously good trade-off for some health and bone shards, so be sure to give everyone on the server their own set of spiny protection. Just be sure to take it off when entering combat. Wormwood's second to last craftable is a rather prickly defensive measure. Bramble traps can be crafted with 1 stinger and 1 living log, and act similarly to the tooth trap. Instead of dealing 50 damage to a single foe, the Bramble trap deals 40 in a small area of effect. This can prove highly potent against large crowds of trashy mobs. Bramble traps are an excellent sink for stingers as well. Since the only other ingredient effectively is health, they make a pretty good late game use for items that are otherwise garbage. Finally, Compost Wrap, which is crafted with 5 manure, 2 rot and 1 nitro piece, heals 30 health to Wormwood with a rather long animation, meaning its use is limited mid-combat. As previously stated, it can also be used to fertilize farms or fill field objects for a high amount. Additionally, Wormwood can use any type of manure to heal himself for 2 health. Wormwood's biggest downside in gameplay is that his health is nay affected by foods of any kind. This means that foods such as pierogies, dragon pie and blue caps have lost their charm to Wormwood players. Wormwood can also eat any food without losing health, such as red caps or monster meat. As such, the only way to heal is to use items, such as healing salves, honey poultices or compost wraps. For balance reasons, jelly beans can still be used to heal Wormwood unlike most other foods, so setting up a bee queen farm with a Wickerbottom player can prove to be a viable strategy for healing. In Hamlet, this downside is somewhat countered by the appearance of the Mud Spa shop, in which Wormwood can purchase healing items. That is, if the shopkeeper doesn't steal Wormwood's life savings by deciding to sell him anti-venom after anti-venom, instead of something actually fucking useful. Since these shops are not present in Don't Starve Together, Wormwood can instead rely on beefier teammates to handle combat for him. After all, who wouldn't want to protect our precious plant baby by any means necessary? Taking damage from fire is Wormwood's other main downside. As previously discussed, Wormwood no longer ignites, and instead takes damage over a longer time period. Wormwood's final perk or attribute is that he loses or gains sanity when plants are destroyed or planted near him. By yourself, Wormwood's sanity is easy enough to manage, as you have a lot of control of when to increase or decrease it. With other players, however, there is absolutely no telling when they will randomly decide to plant or destroy a tree or berry bush. Say you're enjoying the view over a nice forest, basking in the sunshine, when some woody comes along and starts hacking away at the landscape. Or perhaps you'll be embracing your darker side, farming some of them for the precious fuel, when along comes a merry Wilson who starts procuring a flower garden before your very feet. Although, as stated prior, sanity gained and lost via other players' interactions with surrounding flora is hardly noticeable. Gaining or losing 2 sanity means so little in the grand scheme of things that this perk might as well not even exist. So you might be asking, what character should I pair up with Wormwood? Warthocks will seem like the obvious choice, as he can help create large masses of living logs and help Wormwood's general health issues. Overall, however, Wickerbottom wins the prize for number 1 Wormwood teammate. She can read applied horticulture to grow Wormwood's plants, which can be an easy way to start farming hunger-heavy foods such as pumpkins and dragon fruits for dragon pies. Additionally, a bee queen farm is a great way to farm jelly beans every 20 days, which are an excellent method of keeping Wormwood healthy. For a 3-player Wormwood team, Wickerbottom and Warthocks make excellent companions due to their abilities, and form a sort of holy trinity of sorts. And that pretty much compost wraps up all of this video. Thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see you next time.